I want to talk about the most underrated skill for success. By the end of this, I hope you will be ready to create your own plan for success. So think about it. The company goes from a decrease in sales to being nearly bankrupt to welcoming an individual back that had a plan in place, that had a strategic vision for what the company was about, what the company needed to do, implemented that plan, and now it's one of the most, if not the most successful company in the US, maybe even the world. There's nothing that we can achieve and be successful at if we don't implement a good plan. That's how important planning is. And I'm talking about anything, right? Whether you want to start a business, want to tackle a new project, even if you just simply want to save a certain amount of money in a given month, in a given year, it takes planning to be successful with that. All right, welcome back to a new episode of the Myles Side Podcast. This is Myles Munroe Jr., your host. And as always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right? So, last week I had the wife on the pod, and we were discussing our labor and delivery story, our pregnancy, labor, and delivery story, right? And through that process, I mentioned that, part of the reason why the delivery aspect of our experience it was difficult, but it wasn't too difficult, was because my wife did a lot of preparation, right? She did her research. She kind of had the plan set as to how she wanted everything to go. Obviously, things didn't go according to plan. If you were able to watch that episode, if you haven't, go back and take a look at it. But she had a plan in place, and it allowed us to kind of be settled going into it. And then anything challenging or unexpected that came up, I don't think it would have been that difficult. I don't think it was that difficult. And that brings me to what I want to talk about today, because us talking about that in the last episode reminded me of the importance of preparation and planning, right? So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the most underrated skill for success, and that skill is planning, right? In this episode, I want to explore why planning is so underrated. I want to walk through some real-life examples of strategies and plans that people have and could put in place. And then I want to share some actionable planning techniques, some that I use, some that I've seen that have become valuable in my experience. By the end of this, I hope you will be ready to create your own plan for success. All right. So I want to define planning, right? So at its core, planning is about envisioning your desired outcome and then mapping a way to that outcome. That's simply what it is. There's a popular saying that I've learned, growing up, and I've heard a bunch of times, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? I'm sure all of us have heard that saying. And, studies have shown that individuals and companies that set clear goals and plan accordingly are significantly more likely to be successful. And, there's two stories that stick out when we talk about like business success because of a good strategic plan that has been implemented, right? The first is Apple computers. So, if you know the story, you know that Steve Jobs was basically fired from the company at some point, left the company. And once he left, the company wasn't doing so well. And in 1997, I think that was the year. In 1997, he, came back, or was welcomed back to the company, took over the company, and he implemented a bold strategic plan that transformed the entire company. At the time, Apple wasn't doing well, right? They were facing a declining sales. They were near bankruptcy, and that's when they invited Steve back. And he implemented a strategic set of plans for the company to kind of change its trajectory, right? And kind of revamp what it is that the company was doing and what the company was about, right? He had a focus on core products. So he wanted to really focus on just a handful of products as opposed to a large variety of products that they were focusing on at that time. He wanted to focus on innovative designs, right? They prioritized sleek, user-friendly designs, particularly the iMac, and then the iPod, and then eventually the iPhone and iPad, right? They really fine-tuned the design to where it was unique to the company, and it was accepted and demanded even by consumers. They had an ecosystem creation, right? So Jobs introduced a seamless ecosystem connecting devices through iTunes and the App Store, right? And I think for me, personally, that was one of the greatest innovations of Apple, right? So, I have the things that I can do on my computer, on my laptop, that I'm able to then pick up on my phone, and then pick up on my iPod, and now pick up on on an iWatch, or basically all the products that they have to offer. And finally, brand revival, right? They had a marketing plan that said, or that embodied to think different, right? That was the Think Different campaign that they rebranded the company with in 1997. This plan, once implemented, catapulted Apple to being the first U.S. company to reach $1 trillion in valuation. So think about it. The company goes from a decrease in sales to being nearly bankrupt to welcoming an individual back that had a plan in place, that had a strategic vision for what the company was about, what the company needed to do, implemented that plan, and now it's one of the most, if not the most successful company in the U.S., maybe even the world. And it's all because of a plan that was implemented. The second story I want to talk about is Starbucks, right? So in the 1980s, Starbucks was a small coffee shop in Seattle, right? Howard Schultz joined the company, and his vision to transform the company really catapulted Starbucks to where it is now, right? He had a strategic plan of, first of all, having a clear vision, right? He shifted Starbucks from selling beans to creating a third place between home and work. So basically offering an environment for individuals to come, and not just to get coffee, not just to grab something to eat, but create an environment where people wanted to be there and actually stay there, right? To do work, to have meetings. So he created a clear vision of this environment. They created a strategic expansion plan, right? So they targeted urban high traffic areas for growth and expansion. And then they had an employee focus, right? So they introduced benefits like health insurance and stock options for part-time workers, which boosted loyalty and service. And then finally, they had a consistent branding implemented where every store offered the same thing, right? They had the same uniform of the employees, the same uniform outfitting of the store. They had a premium experience from the design to the customer service. So all of this was a strategic plan that was developed and then implemented for the company, and that allowed Starbucks to become one of the most wealthiest companies in the United States. And keep in mind, Starbucks basically only sells coffee as a product, or that's their main product that they push, right? They went public in 1992, and they grew from a few stores to now having over 30,000 stores worldwide. They have become a multi-billion-dollar organization, and it's all due to the strategic plan that their company's officers and the persons in the high levels of their organization have implemented, and which in turn created success for them. I want to introduce you to the Monroe Global app, the ultimate platform to empower your leadership journey and inspire your purpose-filled life. Access timeless teachings designed to help you grow in every area of your life. From leadership development to personal growth, Monroe Global has it all at your fingertips. With the Monroe Global app, You'll have exclusive access to powerful videos and messages from the legendary Dr. Myles Munroe, a digital library packed with life-changing content right at your fingertips, and a vibrant global community of visionaries, leaders, and change makers just like you. Whether you're at home, on the go, or in the office, the Monroe Global app ensures you never miss an opportunity to learn, grow, and lead. Available now on Google Play and the Apple App Store, the Monroe Global app is your gateway to unlocking your potential and impacting your work. Download the Monroe Global app today and take the first steps toward living the life you were born to lead. So for me personally, I want to talk about the way that my planning comes in from my budgeting, right? I budget. I think I've talked about this a number of times, and this budget planning that I do each year. This is one of the things that I like to highlight because it really sets the tone for the rest of my year, right? I set time aside and I really detail a budget for goals that I'm trying to set, things that I'm trying to do in the upcoming year. And I put a plan in place for me to do that. And it's not something that I have always done, right? I have said this before. Again, I started out not having a plan, not having a budget. I went into every year just thinking or kind of imagining like it would be good to do this or I would want to do that. Never really put a plan in place. It was just sort of something that I said and thought. And, by June, may have forgotten it because it wasn't on paper, right? Or I didn't have something down that I can really walk through and tick off and follow step by step. But as I eventually got older and, I think I put the onus on my dad for really instilling in me the importance of not only just planning, right, but budgeting as well. And I incorporated everything, the techniques that he showed me, even some techniques that I picked up myself over the years. And I've developed a routine now to where even my wife could tell you the way that I plan, the way that I budget, it's, I detail everything, down to the pennies that we find on the side of the road. I'm probably adding that into my budget and my plan, right? Because I'm accounting for everything because everything needs to be accounted for. Some argue that planning can kill spontaneity. And although that could be true, I think it's impossible to plan. It's impossible to be successful if you're not planning well, right? Now, of course, we're not going to be able to plan for unforeseen challenges, but I've found though that if you have a good plan in place, it gives you structure, right? So when those challenges or unexpected things happen, it's easy to deviate from the plan because the plan is already in place. And for me, I find that to be effective. I think it's something that helped my wife and I. Again, I mentioned in the last episode that she and I spoke about our labor, delivery, and pregnancy story. The reason why it was kind of easy for us to go through this process was because of the plan that we had, right? We were prepared. This is what we want to do. We want to do this water birth. We want to have a natural birth. We had this plan in place. And although things did not go according to plan, it prepared us for the impossibles, right? The unexpected. And I think that plan assists us in being able to adapt and shift in the areas that we needed to adapt and shift to. So, there are some frameworks that we can use to strategically plan, right? And one that I use is the Smarter Goals method. And this is something that we have developed through, actually we use it in our courses with the Monroe Institute of Leadership, right? We incorporate this teaching and teaching the way Smarter Goals work into the course curriculum. And I find this to be effective because it covers everything, right? You have to think from a simple perspective first, right? And you must imagine your goal and your strategy in its entirety. Think about the end result. What is it that I am trying to accomplish? What is it that I want to do? And then you work your way backwards. So as far as implementing a plan or a technique, I want to suggest 5 steps that you can use and adapt to really plan. I want to say this. Planning, to me, there's no success without proper planning. I truly believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that there's nothing that we can achieve and be successful at if we don't implement a good plan. That's how important planning is. And I'm talking about anything, right? Whether you want to start a business, want to tackle a new project, even if you just simply want to save a certain amount of money in a given month, in a given year, it takes planning to be successful with that, because planning keeps you focused. Planning allows you to have your ideas and your strategies on paper, and then you're able to kind of work your way through it. And as challenges or obstacles come up, you're able to deviate and pivot when necessary, right? So the first thing is vision setting. You have to understand what is the large scope, what is the big view, what is it that I'm trying to achieve, right? Whatever that is. Are you, whether it's growing a business or mastering a new skill, having a clear vision maps that out for you, right? It shows you the end result. This is what we're trying to achieve. Once you set that vision, once you do the vision setting, then you break it down and work your way backwards, right? You break your big goals down into bite-sized portions. And I talk about this a lot, right? And it's because I truly believe, like, especially at the beginning of every year, if we're not planning for the year, there's no way we could be successful in that year. If you're a business owner, even if you're an employee of a business and you work in a particular department of that organization, personally, in your personal life, there are things that you want to achieve, right? Whether it's buying a new home, renovating a new home, even starting a family, like my wife and I. It's best if all of that comes after you put a plan and a strategy in place for it, right? Because you're prepared for that event to take place, or for that project to be realized. And it takes planning, right? So once you break those goals down and work your way backwards, then you're able to implement strategic steps into reaching the overall plan. The next thing after breaking it down is to prioritize, right? So you figure out, in order for me to achieve this, there are certain things that I need to prioritize and work on. So if it's saving money in a given year, you prioritize not spending, right? It's simple enough. You focus on what it is that you need to spend. So I have bills that I need to take care of. I have savings that I need to take care of. And then whatever miscellaneous money, like, you prioritize what is important. Like, I'm going to forego eating out. I'm going to forego going to the movies. I'm going to forego doing things that aren't necessary or that are going to take away from the goal that I've set, which is to save a certain amount of money for this year, right? So you prioritize what it is that you want to do, because not every task is created equal, right? So prioritizing by asking which action will allow me to move closest to my goal. And usually once you set those priorities in place and you follow them, you're more likely to achieve the goal that you set out to achieve. And then step 4 is scheduling and execution. Once you prioritize, schedule your tasks out. Use a planner, a calendar, a digital tool to set the deadlines. And for me, I use my calendar, right? I put these reminders and deadlines in my calendar, where I'm saying, okay, if I'm trying to, let's assume the example is saving a certain amount of money within a given year. In 12 months, this is my goal, right? So I put my schedule in place to where I'm either looking at my progress every 30 days, or every 60 days, or every quarter. Checking where am I at to achieve the goal that I've set out to achieve. If it's opening a business, I'm trying to set goals where, okay, the first thing I need to do is talk to a lawyer, or figure out what I need to structure a business. There are all of these steps that need to go into place in order for you to achieve the big goal, but these small steps matter, right? So being able to schedule the plan out and then execute is of utmost importance. And then revision and adjustments. That's the 5th step. In everything that we do, we have to review, right? We have to review to make sure what it is that we are doing, the strategies that we have put in place, is working, right? Because if it isn't working, then you got to adjust, make the adjustments that are necessary, take this out, move this around, and do whatever is needed to get you back on track, right? I think A lot of the times, people get so fixated on the actual strategy that they put in place and think that this is the only way that I'm going to do this or need to do this, that they don't even consider changing the strategy, right? One of the greatest things I've heard, especially when it comes to like planning, prioritizing, strategy, and like our professional life, the goal never changes, right? The vision, that never changes, but the strategy can always change. Do you feel like there's more to life than what you're experiencing? That deep down, you're meant for something greater? It's time to stop wondering and start discovering. At the Monroe Institute of Leadership, we believe every person carries a unique purpose, a calling designed specifically for you. Our transformative courses, Discover Purpose and Unlock Your Potential, are crafted to help you uncover that purpose and equip you with the tools to step confidently into your destiny. These powerful courses are for leaders, entrepreneurs, students, and visionaries like you. Through proven principles and actionable insights, you will clarify your vision and set bold goals. You will identify your strengths and passions. You will overcome the barriers holding you back, and you will step boldly into your God-given potential. Our expert facilitators draw from timeless and tested principles, blending practical strategies with kingdom truths to empower you to lead a life of purpose, impact, and transformation. The world needs what you have to offer. Don't let another day pass without unlocking the greatness within you. Visit our website, themill.org, and register today. The Monroe Institute of Leadership. Renew your mind and transform a generation. The way that we get to the goal, the way that we're able to bring our vision to reality, the steps that we take, that's the thing that changes, right? And that could change on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a monthly basis, whatever it takes, because there are unexpected things that are going to happen. And I think that's one of the things that we just need to accept and realize, right? And I want to encourage you, we're just over a month into the new year. And if you haven't put a plan in place yet, there is still time, right? So you need to start with setting a vision, right? Setting an overall vision. Well, whatever it is, just pick these different goals that you're trying to achieve and the bigger vision of the why you're trying to achieve them, right? Break it down into smaller steps. So once you set that vision, work your way backwards. That helps you to get to that vision, right? Prioritize those strategies. Pick the things that are most important, the things that you need to focus on, the things you need to discipline yourself about, and then schedule and execute that plan, and then revise and adjust as necessary. These are my recommendations as far as the steps I want to recommend to you and give to you in order to put a good strategic plan in place. This can be effective in whatever it is you're doing, right? Whether it's your personal life, your professional life, even in your relationships. This works. This is something that has been tested, has been proven by many individuals, right? I'm not just speaking for myself. We're talking about entrepreneurs. We're talking about business employees. We're talking about government officials, everyone, right? Everyone who has been able to strategically create and implement a plan has achieved certain levels of success, and you can as well, right? For me, when we talk about planning, I set time out each year for my planning. The fourth quarter of each year is dedicated for me to plan for the next year, right? So from October, November, and December of every year, I am sitting down and I am building a strategic plan for the upcoming year. And that plan is affecting my personal life, which is me as an individual, my family, my wife, my new daughter. I am planning things for the new year for us, right? I am putting a plan in place. That affects my professional life, all the organizations and businesses that I am a part of and attached to. I am working those into my plan as well. It also affects my spiritual life, right? I plan the things that I'm trying to achieve spiritually as well. And all of those are incorporated into my plan that I put together and I sit with in the fourth quarter of each year. Once the new year rolls around, I dedicate the month of January to praying and fasting for that plan. A lot of people don't do that. That's fine, but this is the method that I use, right? I plan for the last quarter, and in that first month of the new year, I'm fasting and praying. I'm praying for guidance. I'm praying for peace in the plan that I've set in place. And for me, it sets the tone for the rest of the year for me. I find that once I accomplish the planning and I'm able to fast and, really get a connection and a word from God as to, the directions I should be going in for this new year, it centers me, right? It gives me a lot more discipline, a lot more focus on the things that I need to be dedicated to for this year. And man, this is something I've been doing, I'd say, for the better part of like maybe 15 years now, and it's been proven to work. I truly recommend and I push people to dedicate some time in your year to plan. Now, your time that you dedicate may not be an entire quarter, right? It may not be 3 months, it may not be 4 months. But whatever it is, there needs to be time where you sit down and you set that time aside to plan. And even if in the middle of the year you have a new project, you have something that you want to accomplish, before you move, put a plan in place. Set some time aside and plan. And I just feel like, the boost that I get, from fasting and praying and just getting guidance on how exactly to implement and execute this plan that I have, it just always works out well for me. Sometimes through that fasting period, I get corrected, right? And I'm instructed or shown by God to where, man, I need to deviate or change the plan a little bit and focus more on this aspect and not that aspect. Or I'm not looking at it correctly. All of that happens throughout this planning process that I put in place. I'm highly recommending this, right? Now, throughout the process of planning and implementation and execution, there are going to be challenges that we experience. Even with the best planning intentions, we all face challenges, right? Whether it's procrastination, perfectionism, and the fear of failure, all of that can derail us from the plan that we've set in place. But the good thing is the plan is there for you always to review and adjust. I always tell people, like, when you feel like procrastinating, procrastinate. When you feel like you need a break, take a break. You don't want to overwork yourself or pressure yourself into saying, I have to be perfect in this process. I have to be perfect in the way that I do this. It's not necessary, first of all, and I don't even think it's natural, right? Naturally, we're going to feel moments of not wanting to do something, not feeling like doing it. And I say embrace those moments. Don't live in those moments. Don't allow those moments to take over what it is, the goal that you've set in place. But don't run away from those moments, because those moments are natural. You need those moments, right? You need those moments to tell you that, okay, maybe I need to take some rest, take some time off. Maybe I need a reset, right? So embrace it. And that's with any challenge that comes up, right? Challenges are not only meant to challenge us, right? It's meant to break us. It's meant to build us. And it's meant to boost us into our next level of the plan that we're trying to accomplish. So don't think that just because a plan isn't going, just don't think because something isn't going according to plan that the plan is not working. Challenges are needed. Obstacles are needed. Us waking up and not feeling like doing what it is that we should be or need to be doing, that's needed. That keeps us humble, right? Keeps us grounded. It lets us know that we're human, right? I'm not Superman. I'm not a person that doesn't feel or have emotions or need encouragement just like the other person. We all do, right? But the goal is to take the break, take a step back, and refocus and adjust. That's it. Review and make the adjustments that are needed. If you need to pivot. I'm imploring you not to run away from the fact that the plan may not go according to how you set it out. Obstacles are going to happen, challenges are going to happen, but embrace them, because they're going to make everything better. They're going to make everything that much more worthwhile once the goal is achieved. So I want to issue a challenge, right? I want you to spend the next week, 7 days, outlining a plan for a goal you've been putting off. I'm sure there's things that you may want to achieve, whether that's to, at the top of the year, everyone has this goal of, I want to save X amount of dollars within a year. I want to become more active with my health and, be on a good diet and exercise, like all of these things. But we don't put proper planning in place. My challenge to you is to take these next 7 days and put a plan in place for that goal. And, it could be whatever that goal is. Just take 7 days out to strategically develop a plan. And then I want you to share the progress of that plan with me throughout the rest of this year. Just put it in the comments to this particular video, and I want you to hashtag the High Miler Plan. Okay? So just keep me updated on your progress, on that goal, that vision, that plan that you're putting in place. Let's stay abreast with each other, right? Let's continue to work on achieving the goal that we've set. And just hashtag High Miler Plan in the comments. And I want to encourage you throughout the rest of this year to achieving that goal and to fulfilling the vision that you've placed on yourself for 2025. All right. That's all I want to talk about. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Planning is that much important to me. I think this is something that I'll probably speak about at the top of each year. That's how important I think it is. And if you're not a person that plans regularly, then I'm willing to bet that you're a person that you fail a lot. As tough as that is to hear, as difficult as that may seem to accept, the reason why you might be failing is because you're not putting in the time to properly plan and strategize for the goals you're setting for yourself. So I'm issuing that challenge to you, and I'm just encouraging you to just keep pushing through. The things may not always go according to plan, but even that is a part of the plan. All right, so that brings us to the milestone for this episode. Today's milestone is very simple. Planning isn't about limiting your creativity. It's about giving you the freedom to focus on what really matters. When you have a plan and put a plan in place, it makes it easier for that plan to be executed, right? Because you know exactly what you need to focus on. You know exactly what you need to prioritize. You know exactly the revisions and the adjustments that need to be made based on the challenges that arise. Planning allows the freedom of you to not have to think about it because the plan is there, right? And any deviation or pivoting that needs to take place is much easier because you're always able to go back to the original plan. Don't think that the plan can't be changed because the plan is there, honestly, for changes to be made, and it just makes the changes easier, all right? So don't be afraid to plan. With that said, that brings us to the end of this particular episode. This has been fun. I've missed this. I'm so happy to be back. This is the second episode in. As always, the vision and goal for this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right? So until next time, you guys stay blessed.